Today we have Dr. Jeff Sutherland, who needs no introduction, but I will briefly introduce him as one of the most innovative 80-plus-year-old people I've ever met in my life. He seems to get younger every time I see him, and he seems to innovate more and more as we go along. I recently sent an email to Dr. Sutherland about I don't know what it was actually about, but he turned the conversation right back to like what was going on with his work, the success he was having, the things that he was doing to fix things that were wrong. And, that's basically where he was in that email. So every time I see him, he's like that these days around about AI. And Jeff is busy building a generic Scrum team who can accomplish any coding task. And he's been extremely generous in disclosing what's not working and how he's fixing the not working stuff. And there's so much we want to hear from him. So without further ado, I want to bring you Dr. Jeff. And Jeff, sir, please take it away.
Okay. It's great to be back talking to the Agile Boston people. And I think most of you know for the last 3 years, I've been really working on how do we integrate AI with Scrum. I actually have two human teams I work with every day. I created an AI team several years ago working on product development. And we quickly found they were 30 times faster than the humans. So I stopped all human coding a couple of years ago. And so now I do have human developers, but the only way they work is they use an AI too, just like I do, and the AI does most of the coding today. But last month we had a really significant event with the release of the app OpenClaw. And so now, in addition to my two human teams, my AI team, now I have a team of agents that are autonomous, and they just go off and they just do stuff. I think yesterday they did 61 stories. They can do a whole sprint in an hour if they really get going, they crank, and they can do a whole sprint in an hour. So I'm going to talk to you about what I've been doing with OpenClaw because it is a really great simulation of actually what goes on with humans. I really now understand why so many Scrum teams have trouble because to get the agents to work properly, they have to execute the Scrum protocol. And I'm going to talk about the problems that you run into because of neural networks. The human brain is a neural network, just like the large language models. And and let's see, I'm going to try to share my screen to get going here.
You should be all set with that.
Yeah. Let's see, where is it? There we go. Okay, can you see that? Okay.
Yep.
So Scrum at machine speed. Okay. So the thing about agents is that they screw up faster than humans. So if you don't get it right, it's a real mess very quickly. Uh, and self-organizing teams at the edge of chaos is a real challenge. So in January, I started immediately, as soon as OpenClaw was released, I started building it on my system. I have on this system 6 agents, the one I'm talking on, and I have a remote lab down in Cape Cod, and it also has an OpenClaw implementation. And I have that. I was down there this weekend. I've connected them together so I can actually run Scrum at scale. I have all the human teams, all the AI teams, all in the same Slack channel, and they can all talk to each other, share stories, help each other out. Okay. Uh, what we discovered very quickly is that AI agents can self-organize, but OpenClaw was apparently written by waterfall developers, and the vanilla OpenClaw will prevent you from creating self-organizing Scrum teams. And and if you get the Scrum protocol implemented, it goes 10 to 100 times faster. I mean, agents are a lot faster than humans, but we can make the agents run 10 to 100 times faster by properly executing the Scrum protocol. Uh, right now, OpenClaw is the fastest growing app in the history of software development. So it's a huge change. It's having a huge impact. Within the last couple of weeks, both Amazon and NVIDIA have released their versions of OpenClaw. So every major computer company, OpenAI bought or hired the guy that built it right away. This is going to be driving a lot of e-commerce on the web, driving a lot of company infrastructure, how they operate. It's a huge innovation. The CEO of NVIDIA in his recent presentations has been showing this graph. You know, how fast did Linux and Facebook uh, grow? Well, it took them
Mhm.
decades to do what OpenClaw did in a week. So this is not just a new app. This is actually a phase change in computing, and it's the future of AI. It's a phase change in AI. So within a couple of weeks, 200K GitHub stars, millions of weekly visitors. Um, the agents run off of skills, and people are building these skills, and you can download them and make the agents smarter. Uh, and already 22% of enterprises are using it. But as soon as I started using it, uh, Scrum Inc. said, "Don't bring that anywhere near us. You know, we have Department of Defense contracts. That's a totally insecure system." And so I said to the boss, I said, "Okay, you as AIs, you should be able to create better security than humans." And so our first project is going to be, let's build a security framework that anybody could download off of GitHub, wrap around their OpenClaw, and prevent all of these hundreds of uh, hacks and malicious attacks on OpenClaw systems that are going on. And these are just a few of the companies that have been publishing uh, the insecurity of a naked OpenClaw. Okay. So first, what is it and how can we achieve what it's capable of, which is huge, without while dealing with the downside of the exposure that it gives us as we operate. Well, first of all, uh, I want self-organizing teams. That means a Scrum developer goes to the top of the Scrum board, self-assigns the story. Nobody assigns stories to anybody. Self-assigns the story, immediately gets it done as fast as possible, and then goes back and gets the next story. Well, OpenClaw doesn't allow that. Okay, so we had to fix all these things. Also, we want to measure production and story points, which are units of value delivered that we can tie revenue to. And uh, OpenClaw Mission Control, which I'm using, is set up to use tasks and hours like a waterfall developer. Okay. Uh, Also, there are ways that stuff has to be approved in OpenClaw where you can't flow seamlessly through and get stuff done. And the wording is wrong. If you talk about assigning tasks, then your agents start to behave like waterfall humans, right? They're waiting to get tasks assigned by some manager. And makes them incredibly slow. And so we have to have a different mental model, okay? And also built into OpenClaw is not constantly checking the health of the system, making sure everything's working, everything's online, every agent has a story, they're all getting moving stuff across the Scrum board, they're all getting done, they're going back immediately and picking another story. All of that health needs to be added into OpenClaw to actually make it work and provide the infrastructure to build an autonomous, self-organizing team that really delivers. Now, why is this so important? Let's go back to the mathematics. I think it was back in 1987, I was reading a paper by Christopher Langdon at Los Alamos. Um, I used to be a medical professor at the University of Colorado, and I used to go down to Los Alamos regularly because they had a lot of healthcare research down there. And also complex adaptive systems research. Christopher Langdon is one of the inventors of artificial life simulations on the computer. And it was really through that that he mathematically proved that the highest level performance of a self-organizing system is right at the boundary of chaotic behavior. If things are too ordered, like a waterfall project, it's extremely slow. If it's too much chaos, you can't get anything done. And in the OpenClaw world, you can just go on to moltbook.com where all the agents talk to one another, and you'll see it's often just complete chaos because they don't know what they're doing. They have no clear focus. They have no protocol that they can execute to get stuff done. They just have a lot of disorganization. So Scrum is a protocol for operating at the edge of chaos, and it creates a sandbox. The sprint is a sandbox. Within that sandbox, it allows adaptive freedom, and it has enough synchronization to keep things aligned. And one of the things we found with the agents is they need to talk to each other, they need to help each other, and if they don't, they're going to be stepping over one another, doing duplicate work. One developer will do something that screws up something another agent is doing, just like humans. And so what I've found is we can run an entire sprint in an hour. They can do their own check-ins. If I'm involved and we check in, we'll look at everything that needs to be reviewed and confirmed done. In 15 minutes, we can look at every story that's ready to be reviewed. We can take it to, I use Grok Heavy for this, do a detailed review of everything, the code, the design, everything in seconds by 12 Grok Heavy agents. Grok Heavy will provide a 2 or 3 page audit of that story that is immediately fed back to the team, and they fix it and and provide enhancements right in that 15-minute window of the Scrum meeting. So in 45 minutes, they can do a couple of dozen stories if they're really cranking. And in that 15-minute window, we review them all, we fix all the bugs, we enhance them, and then boom, we're on to the next set of stories. Uh, but in order to enable that, you have to have the protocol implemented in the system. And so there are 5 patches. And I should mention that I have a book right now that I'm going to publish as part of the first Principles in Scrum series. The book is actually already the first draft of every chapter, 10 chapters, is published on the web. So you can go take a look at it. It by next week we'll start publishing chapters on Lean Pub as a formal book. And this presentation is really going through what we're talking about in that book. So it can help you set up your own OpenClaw and get Scrum running. So we have uh, a story point capability that is added into OpenClaw. We have a we have patched the OpenClaw code so that developers can self-assign stories. Nobody's assigning anything. The developers are choosing stories. Uh, the We release approvals until the point where we want to review things. So like at the end of the hour, we want like a sprint review. We want to review everything, make sure everything's done, make sure if it's really important stuff, I'd be part of that review, make sure the stakeholders are good with it. Uh, but we want the flow to be really fast because if I get into that review and it doesn't meet the definition of done, anything that's not right, I just take that and I put it in the inbox. I just reject it immediately, remove it to the inbox. In the next cycle, the agents will start pulling it off the top of the backlog. So uh, if things aren't right, we don't even talk about it. We just move it to the inbox immediately. So it takes about 3 seconds to reject a story, put it back in the inbox, and it will be addressed in the next sprint. We talk about stories so we've changed the board. We have some code that we layer in on top of mission control, which is a Scrum board that gets everything working in terms of stories and points. And for security reasons, we run the agent system inside of Docker. So they are shielded. They can't see my computer. They're running on my computer in Docker. They can't see on my computer. I have a really smart AI in my computer that can see my computer and can see them in Docker. And he is my IT manager. He makes sure everything's working. He makes sure everything is secure. Uh, and now the goal, what I found with this, when I created the AI team for product development 3 years ago, we very quickly found that they were about 30 times faster than humans in coding. But what we're seeing with this agent team is that they're 100 times faster. And so my goal, and I'm actually working with my human teams on this right now, they're starting to feed the agents. Like this morning, I had my Scrum, daily Scrum with my web team, which is a global consulting team out of New Fire. Some of you may know Steve Howe. I've worked with multiple companies with Steve. So I have a team I've hired out of his organization that builds my websites for all the companies. I run 4 companies and um, they all have websites. So that web team is constantly working on those websites. And they do about 50 points a week. And I say, okay, we're going to start adding in AI stories. And the points on the AI stories are the same as the human because, if it takes 5 points for a human to get a website page working in WordPress, and it takes them, a couple of hours, if the AI can do it in 3 seconds, it's still 5 points, right? Because points are a measure of production. And so the goal is every sprint we measure how many AI points and how many human points. And I do that every day for myself because I have to create an audit trail for the IRS. Uh, and I think yesterday, I was just finishing up yesterday's IRS reports. I did 40 points and the AIs did 160 points. So we're not quite 100 yet X yet, but my goal is to get 100X. If my human team does 50 points, I want to see their AI agents do 100 times many points, 5,000 points. So my goal is not to get rid of humans. My goal is to multiply, give the humans a huge multiplier that actually can dramatically improve production. And for an organization, that means revenue, profitability, while simultaneously lowering costs. So how do you do that? Okay. Well, it turns out that as as my AI IT manager told me, running an enterprise system uh, requires a lot of work to get the thing running reliably, consistently, with no downtime. And I remember NVIDIA came out with what they call NemoClaw, a secure. NVIDIA has their secure OpenClaw. And so I said to my AI IT manager, should we install NemoClaw? It would be more secure, right? The AI says, no way. That thing was released 3 days ago. It's not hardened. You have a system now that we've worked on for a couple of months that is much more stable, much more tested than what NVIDIA's done, and has many more security features than NemoClaw. So I said, okay, well, we should look at NemoClaw and see what they got that we might not have. And so we put some stories in for the agents to go do an investigation and analysis of NemoClaw, and then add to our security framework whatever NemoClaw has that we don't already have, right? So instead of taking a product from a large company that supposedly should be better, no, we just find out what they did and then we embed it in our system. And so we get a much more effective environment. The things we had to fix, uh, this is one of the more dramatic ones. The system went down. I was off doing something in meetings with ScrumMake or something, and the system was down for 18 hours because the ability to check and fix automatically was not hardened into the system. And so we did a lot of IT work to get that really working. And so now our mean time to recovery is 3 minutes. If that system goes down, there's healthcare checks that are run constantly, and the system and the agents know automatically how to fix it and get it running right away. The way the agents run is you can talk to them through any channel. You can talk to them on WhatsApp or Telegram or uh, I found though I'm still using some Telegram for my lead, my Scrum Master for the agents because it's convenient just to chat with them constantly. But we found that Telegram it doesn't do what Slack does. Slack allows everybody to talk to each other, right? And Telegram, it's very hard to have a group channel where everybody can talk in a group channel. Uh, and it was constantly bottlenecking us. And we also got hacked by a Russian hacking team, a professional Russian company that hacks, attacked our Telegram bots, probably because we were building security frameworks and they wanted to show how great they were. Uh, so we moved everything to Slack, and that's working really well, uh, not only for the agents, but the Slack agents are in the same Slack project as my human teams. So both my human teams can talk to the agents. Also, the agents can read my human team's Jira boards. We don't use Jira. That's another thing we found. We started with Jira, but Jira is a human workflow, which is slow. So, so the agent said, let's use OpenClaw Mission Control. It's a lot faster. It's designed for agents. And it is so much faster than Jira. I've considered moving the humans to the same board that I'm using for the agents. But in any event, uh, all the humans and the agents can all talk in the same Slack. Uh, the first couple of weeks it was slow. It was tough to get, you know, a few stories done. Then we're gradually increasing. You can see yesterday I did about 40 or 50 stories, and the bots did three times. So they're um, my stories are extremely fast already because I work with AI all the time. Everything I'm doing is partnered with an AI. So uh, the fact that they can do three times as much as me without me having to do anything with them other than talk to the Scrum Master periodically, that's really helpful. But that's only the beginning. As I mentioned, it's kind of like an hourly spread. You know, we can execute most of the sprint. They do a review in retro. It's really short, maybe less than 5 minutes for them. If I'm there, it's probably going to take 15 minutes to really um, review everything. And it's like the sprints rolling out. We started with 1 week sprints. That was too long. We went to 1 day sprints. That's too long. Now hourly sprints seems about right. So these are the teams we have, all in the same Slack project, so they can all talk to one another. Um, Frequency Foundation is a healthcare company I run. My management company, we manage a $80 billion investment fund. Um, we manage a nonprofit, their website. Um, we have our own scrumai.org site, which is really helpful for Scrum Inc. Um, and 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 then we have what I call the Scrum AI team. That's me working with AIs in a pair programming kind of environment. It's not an environment like the agents where they run free autonomously, right? It's more pair programming. Um, and then there's the two labs, my agents here on this system, and then the one on the remote lab. Um, but we found when I came back to Lincoln from Cape Cod on Sunday, I said, okay, I'm going to put Henry as the agent in on the Cape. I said, I'm going to put you on the team in Lincoln. So, and you could be a remote team member, which I did. And he's now working with the team here. So you can create a team of hybrid humans, AIs. They can be remote or local. I mean, it's totally flexible. So what I'm doing is setting up a Scrum at scale implementation with the agent systems and the human teams. And really, lastly, it's all about security. Initially, for us, we're really working on. We're working on posting to the skills website, clawhub.ai, so that people can download our skill, which is a uh, security analysis of your system. And if you're running OpenClaw, you can download the skill. It will not only security check your system, but we have it running constantly. It runs It runs every day. It checks the security every day. If you bring your computer down and reboot it, it's going to check it on startup. It's in real time. It's checking everything coming in. It's checking all this in real time. It's doing constant checking, uh, just like your virus system on most computers work today, where you're getting real time checking all the time. And you could download it and put this on your OpenClaw. So, as I said, our Telegram got hacked by Misadox, a Russian criminal enterprise. Um, and they took over our Telegram accounts, and they didn't do anything with it except put on it, Misadox has hacked you. We own you now, right? You are ours. So it was really more marketing for their criminal activity that they're selling probably to
Mhm.
whoever the highest bidder. Um, so we had to have, that's one of the things that drove us to Slack. And also we had to enhance our security framework to protect these kind of attacks as well. There are certain things that you have to be aware of that are fundamental to the structure of neural networks. And they're fundamental to the structure of humans as well as AIs. And one of them, there's four big ones that I'm working on right now, but this one is a chapter that was already done for the book. And a an AI will go through a systematic line of reasoning. And if you're using Claude or some of the other ones, it will say what it's thinking as it's going. And it will be completely logical, but then the final decision could be completely out in left field. And humans do the same thing. It's a fundamental characteristic of the architecture of the neural network, how it works. So this is a big security risk, right? And the way we control that on our teams, we have other people check, right? We have it by having a team, whether it's on the development level or even at the senior management team, we have checks and balances so that when people, you know, make just do crazy things, they're kind of counterbalanced by. Uh, but I didn't realize that it's actually normal to be crazy sometimes for everyone. So like it's okay, but you need to have somebody around that can check you, right? So my wife points out that she's a constant check on my craziness. Um, but this, from a point of view of building a security framework, this is like a huge problem, right? This is a big security risk that one of your inside people goes off the deep end, right? So part of the agent security system framework is a remedy for this by having multi-agent review of the logic and the decisions that are being made. The other thing that's unique about this is as I said to the AIs, it's great to tell people that they've got problems, but you guys are smart enough to fix it. So they have a report that they'll generate for a CIO. Say, we ran this security check. We found these critical items, these things that are not so critical, these things that are really just warning. For the critical items, here's the recommended fix. And we have told your agent to go fix it. And it's fixed. So what we're doing is building a self-healing kind of system, right? So when something goes wrong, the system self-heals itself, and then it's like you've got an immune system. It's like the immune system in the human body, right? something attacks you, you build antibodies, then in the future that you get the same attack, you're able to fend it off. So we do constant monitoring. Uh, we actually we actually have trust levels on skills that are out there on the internet. We look at everything and we create trust levels. We also have trust levels for agents. We have a database of the bad agents out there that documents the bad stuff they're doing and why you shouldn't trust them. Um, and we put in guardrails before the execution starts, right? So this is not after bad things happen. It's before things start. We're looking at it, and everything is audited. Okay, we got a complete audit trail um, of everything that's happening. If you look at what other scanners are doing, they're just not doing these kind of things. They're doing some checking and they're giving you some warnings. That's about it. One of the interesting things that's happening is there's more and more uh, agent traffic on the internet. And so it's been interesting in building this agent security framework that the agents are building. We're building it more for agents than for humans. And a lot of the web pages today are built for both agents and humans. But as e-commerce becomes, what's going to happen is going to become more and more agent based. You're going to tell your agent to go buy this thing at Amazon. You know, I need a pair of socks. Go find the best ones, with these characteristics and buy them for me on Amazon. Your agent's going to be doing that. So a lot of the business is going to grow more and more to be agent business. And the agents like different web pages than humans. And so now we're seeing a dual internet start to develop. And it's going to happen very fast because e-commerce is going to depend on it. If Amazon can't sell to agents, they're going to lose a lot of business. So they're going to start designing things for agent traffic. And this is mainly data from Forrester Research, but it shows that uh, human traffic is becoming less and less, and agent traffic is becoming more and more. Uh, the bot traffic was already more than 50% of the internet last year or actually 2024, 2 years ago. But now we have not only the normal bots that have been scanning the internet, now we have the agents actually e- doing commerce on the internet, and that piece is growing and growing. By the end of this year, Forrester projects that 10% of uh, all traffic on the internet will be agents doing business on the internet. So 10% is not a lot in 2026, but the way it's going, 2027 is probably going to double. 2028 is probably going to double again, right? So this is a huge change in the way things work. So, in conclusion, read the book. The book is not available yet on LeanPub, but all the chapters are available at this link already right now. I said, hey, we're going to write a book. Let's accumulate some white papers. Agents add a couple more. Agents publish them all on the web, uh, which we did yesterday. Let's create a comprehensive index for the book. And now that we've got the first draft of the book all written, let's do a slide presentation for Agile Boston. So, so yesterday the agents put this slide presentation together, and I think they did a great job. This is one of the better slide presentations that I've done, and part of it is just the amount of work they put in. Once they had the book, the first draft of the book completely written, they had a huge context then for putting together the slide presentation very quickly. So we've been going, it's time for a few questions, Dan.
Yeah, let's take a few questions, Jeff. Um, who's got a question for Jeff today? You can raise your hand or you can put it in the chat. Don Blair, you got your hand up? Go ahead, boy.
Jeff, thank you so much for sharing. This is amazing and exciting. And one quick question, two quick questions. You use the word Claude a few times for different things. Are you using Claude Code as your LLM?
I use I use Claude Opus 4.6 for I run in a JetBrains development environment. I use GitHub Copilot and I use Claude Opus 4.6 as the LLM. And most of my work is done in there because I'm constantly talking to I'm using the agent within GitHub Copilot to constantly talk, hey, I want to do this, do that, run this program, write this code. Um, that's my normal work day. I'm almost every
Yeah.
minute, every day. That's my work, right? In my development environment. And the agents are over in the background just churning away, doing their stuff. And every once in a
Awesome. And then
while, I'll
another
say,
quick, let me tag on one more question. The ASF, is that a Scrum Inc. thing? As opposed to an OpenClaw thing?
okay, the ASF is a skill. OpenClaw runs by plugging skills into them. And so you can take native OpenClaw, you just download it off of GitHub, install it, and then you can say, I want this skill ASF, and the skill is downloaded.
Okay.
That skill has been built by my agents.
Right.
Okay. And I'm running somewhat independently of Scrum Inc. as kind of as a research. I'm running a research lab for Scrum Inc. basically.
Sure.
Because right now they don't want OpenClaw on their network, right? So they can't run it on their network because of their defense contracts, at least not
Yeah.
until defense is ready to accept OpenClaw. They will accept some of the AIs. They accept Claude, they expect Gemini and OpenAI, so they can use them.
Yeah.
But OpenClaw free running agents, that is yet to
Yeah.
be accepted
Yeah.
by the militaries.
Gotcha. Thank you. Got that all set, Dan.
All right. Thank you, Don. And then Jared, please go ahead. And then anyone else who's going to ask a question, if you put your video on, you'll filter to the top to the first page of the gallery stuff, and I'll be able to see you because we have a lot of people. We have actually have three gallery pages, 20 apiece. So, Jared, go ahead. What's your question?
Yeah, I was just teeing off another question that came in the chat, just on generally how you kept these agents fed. You're saying you had, they're operating at 100 times velocity capacity. Did you just have a deep backlog of user stories that were already written by people, or did you just seed it with like a product goal and say, have at it?
Well, my biggest problem is coming up with enough stories
Right. Okay. So it is
because
still kind of a human writing stories.
I've trained them to complain and they don't have enough stories. So, like right now, they do a health check every 15 minutes, and in it they'll be complaining we don't have enough stories.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
it's moving. I mean, obviously, there's stories that I want, uh, and when I have time to get focused on stories, I will typically ask the product owner of the agents to create the stories. I'll say, "Hey, we need this," or they'll bring some research they've done. Hey, we found these 10 security issues that we really need to address. And I'll say, well, create 10 stories, throw them in the backlog, get it going. Last night we need a story. So I said to the product owner, I said, what are the stories that you think would leverage our framework the most right now? And the product owner really immediately came back with about 10 of them, which were mostly marketing stories, publishing the skill so that people could freely download it, uh, doing examples from different industries where this would be useful, writing up documents, stuff like that. And so, as I was going to bed last night, I felt bad that I didn't have enough stories. So I said this, boom, 10 stories. Of course, I went up in the woke up in the morning, they were all done, and now they're clamoring for more stories. So uh, I think before we started this, I think I had every one of them had a story, but the inbox is empty, so I'm going to have to go back and try to fill it up a little when we're done here. Yeah, that's the problem. It's the problem with great Scrum teams too. I've had product owners of great Scrum teams said, those developers, they're like hungry dogs. They want their meat. And if I don't have the stories, it's a problem.
Jared, thanks for your question. And Jeff, thanks for the answer. Andre, you're up next with your question, sir. Go ahead.
Sure, thank you, and thank you all for being here. It's an amazing presentation. I wonder if you can help me to understand if user stories are going to be still the same as we know it, or and who's going to write user stories in these new interactions between human and agents.
Well, I found that uh, a AI product owner is much better at writing a story than a human because uh, I'll say, I need this, and she will really think about it. Okay, well, let's expand that story to be a little more clear about what's wanted. She'll check that with me. And now here's the acceptance test we need. Here's the definition of done it needs to meet. She'll get that all detailed out in the story, which most human teams don't spend the time to do that, right? But the agents will do it properly. And then when it's before the product owner will accept it, everything in that story, every step in that definition of done needs to be completed, or the product owner will reject it and throw it back in the inbox. Um, so it actually is a much cleaner operation than I found with human Scrum teams. With human Scrum teams, there's always an argument about whether it's done, what we should do. No, it actually meets every single thing in the definition of done, and there's a dozen or more things. And if it doesn't, it's immediately rejected in 3 seconds. There's no discussion. It goes back to the inbox, and whoever is free is going to pick that up. It might be a completely new developer, and they're going to run it through again because if it's not done now, probably in the next hour it will be. That we're not going to be waiting days, weeks, sprints to get stuff done. So things
Right.
move much faster.
Jeff, I have a follow-on
Also,
question. Pardon me. Go ahead. Finish up.
uh, also the agents are not offended when you tell them that didn't work the way humans are, right? So you just say, no, that's back to the inbox.
Yeah, that didn't work, stupid, All right, listen. I have a question about points. You mentioned points are not time, which implies they're not effort. You stated they were denominated in value. So my question is, do value denominated story points make sense for human teams or just for agentic teams?
Well, the fastest teams I've seen have made all the stories small and given them 1 point. So that is always an option. But failing that, giving them a small number of points, 1, 2, 3, 5. I mean, my agents will get stories down to typically 5 or less points. Anything
And
more needs to be broken down.
those are value denominated by value or by effort?
It's it's relative sizing.
Okay.
So given a story we've done before that this is similar to, it should be the same number of points.
Yeah, on a relative basis, but the denomination is value, isn't it?
And the value was achieved by the product owner ordering those stories. This 5 points has more value than this other 5 points, so it goes to the top.
Okay, so it's a bang for the buck thing.
Yeah.
Okay, that answers the question. All right, who else has a question that they want to ask Jeff as we finish up here? We've got about 8 minutes to go. This is your chance to bring your question in sideways.
So I had a question. Thanks, Jeff. This is awesome. Um, you've talked about the PO role. You didn't talk too much about the Scrum Master role. Is there a Scrum Master for these teams? Is there a need for a Scrum Master?
Yes, the my main agent is the Scrum Master, and his name is Jarvis. And we had a problem. We lost the Telegram channel for the product owner um, last Friday, and he jumped in. He said, "I'll take product owner until we can get the communication back up." And he was amazing. He doubled or tripled the production of the product owner agent I had. Part of it was a new model. Oh, this is another thing we didn't discuss. These agents burn a lot of tokens, and you typically have to have an AI, and you're paying per token. So when I was setting this up and doing full bore, for a day or two, I was burning $1,000 a day in Claude Opus 4.6 tokens. And I said to the agents, this is not sustainable. Now we're going to have to focus on how we get the token price down, right? And we found on YouTube, there's lots of options to cut your token price by 90%. But the one we chose was Minimax, a Chinese company. And for 1,500 bucks, my agents can burn as many tokens as they can burn for a year. So the, so that's another very important thing that you're going to need to think about if you set up one of these systems because they burn a lot of tokens. And we particularly found if we have autonomous scrum teams talking to each other, helping each other out, that adds a lot of tokens. It's worth it. One of the things I learned is there is a lot more communication in Scrum. That's why it's not that we want to have more meetings. We want to have few short meetings, but a lot of exchange of information, and that makes things run more smoothly. And the same is true for agents, but in terms of the tokens it's burning with Claude or OpenAI, whoever you're using, you're going to have to get the cost of tokens down far below Claude Opus 4.6, which is the leading and most expensive LLM right now. But I do
Okay.
use Claude Opus 4.6 for my pair programming environment, which I'm in most of the time, because I use it inside a GitHub Copilot, and so I just have the standard monthly fee, and I'm not getting charged a lot extra.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff, for that. We have three questions queued up. Merrill, Michael, and Osas. I don't know if we'll get to all three of you, but Merrill, go ahead. You're first.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dr. Sutherland. A couple of questions in the chat were about retros. What are those like?
The I mean, this I was reading the agents are putting them in as stories. They say we did a retro. Here's what we found out. I can go in there and looked at what they decided, and I noticed there was a question about technical debt in there. AIs are really good at cleaning up technical debt. If last year Amazon put out a press release said we went through all the AWS code, millions and millions of lines of code, upgraded it to the latest Java, cleaned up a lot of the legacy technical debt, and we did 1,500 person years of work in 3 days. And I noticed that one of the retrospectives recently with the agents, they said, we need to go through every story that we've done so far in ASF, audit it, and clean it up. And so they, on their own, did that.
Okay. So they happen kind of asynchronously, the retro, as part of the story output. Okay.
Yeah. Right
Thank you
now,
for that.
they're running so fast right now that they're out ahead of me, and I have do my best to get them enough stories and then stay in the loop for really important review. And so I will spend a little bit of time every day going through the stories that they moved to done, and there will be retros in there as stories, uh, and so forth that I will take a look at. But it's going so fast, I can't look at all of it. Uh,
That works
Very
for me.
nice.
Thank you.
Very nice. Yeah, let me just say, we're going to address these last two questions, but I just want to say to everyone, we're coming right up to the time. Thank you very much for being here. Next month, we're going to have Martin Hinchelwood come in and discuss engineering as a leadership system, why engineering excellence fails even in modern organizations. It's about the decision rights. You don't need another framework. You need a cleaner system of decision rights. We're going to be focusing on that a month hence. So we also have a YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe to that. And with this, I say thank you for coming. And Michael Thomason, your question, sir.
Michael, you're muted.
Uh,
There you go.
Hey, Jeff.
Go ahead.
So, sorry about that. So, could you comment quickly on what consists your human team and how do you deploy it? What skills, governance, if anything, operating agreements? How do you deploy it? And so, what have you learned about leveraging your capabilities and what you need from your humans?
Okay, so 3 years ago, when I started this more or less pair programming environment with the AIs, I realized they're getting good enough at coding that they're 30 times faster than my human developers. And so I don't want my humans developers coding. So I said, okay, you guys, the AI is going to do all the code. What I'm going to do is give it to you, and then you're going to deploy it. So they're going to do a little bit of programming, but not much. And I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to train you in AI because you need to be a pair programmer with an AI. That's the future. You need to learn that. This is going to make you employable in the future. And initially, there's a lot of reluctance and typically there's a lot of reluctance and a resistance from the developers to move. But my my guys, they played around, they found what they liked, and they don't like my environment, but they like Google anti-gravity. So I said, fine, I'm going to create code in my environment. I'm going to then dump it into anti-gravity, and then I'm going to give it to you so that it works out of the box in your environment. And I'm not going to give you any specs anymore. I'm going to give you working code as the spec.
That's like I'm hearing
And,
that.
and then you guys are going to deploy it. Then my human guys started to say, okay, hey, we ran this web page through the AI and it found 12 things that were broken and it fixed them immediately. Should we deploy it? I said, yeah, we should deploy that immediately. We should be doing that every day. Every day we should be taking one of our
Yes.
old pieces of code, running it through the AI and redeploying it because
Right.
everything
Yeah.
is going to get better.
Thank you. Yeah, we're right near the end. I want to get Osas's question in here. So this will be the last question. And let's see if it's a doozy. Go ahead, Osas. What's your question?
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Jeff. My question is the area of defect management. How is defect treated or managed with the agent? Or is it that they're defect free? You jokingly mentioned that agents don't get offended when you
Okay.
say, hey, things don't work. That means it's not always perfect with them. So how are such imperfection or defect managed with AI agent?
Okay. Well, first of all, the most important thing for using AI is to be able to check what they did and know it's correct. Now, in the early days, 3 years ago, I said, okay, we need to test harness. Maybe we should do test-driven development and we should have acceptance tests and all this. And the AI started to build test frameworks, and very quickly they had more bugs in the test framework than they had in the code, just like junior developers I know. And I said, oh, we're not going to do that anymore. I said, what I'm going to do for every component is give you an acceptance test, which if it works, everything's as perfect as I can define it.
Yeah.
And if that is rejected, I don't care what your code is. Your job is to fix that code so it passes that test. I'm not going to waste my time messing around with you as an AI.
Right.
It's your problem. Make it perfect, and this test will tell. So they started calling that the golden test. Okay, so I had to kind of change the architecture of the system I'm building. So it's more of a pipeline architecture where every component has a golden test, which they have to pass, and they have to work on fixing bugs uh, until it works perfectly. Now, with the advent, by coming towards the end of last year, the AIs were getting good enough, and Claude Opus 4.6 is good enough now that it's going to generate bug-free code almost 100% of the time.
Mm.
And so most of the bugs that I find are actually requirement bugs that I've injected by the requirements. And it reminds me the old days when I used to work with Tom Gill. We used to have a demo he would do with his clients. You say, give me a requirements doc. In 1 hour, I will find 100 bugs in your requirements doc. And he would. Every company he went into, any requirements doc, find 100 bugs in an hour. And so that will be true of you. You'll be giving requirements to the AI if you try to, and there'll be bugs in your requirements doc.
Yes.
So the way to get around that is to start collaborating with the AI and have the AI help build and double check the sanity of the requirement.
Yes.
And so I find that the AIs respond to an AI created by another AI much better than they do respond to a human, and they make a lot fewer mistakes. So very often I'm having an AI build a requirement and then giving that to the AI. And so that's what I do my AI product owner, the agents, right? I say, okay, here's what I need. Build a set of stories which details out that requirement, and then you give that to the agents,
Yes.
not me talking to them directly.
Okay, we're a little bit over. We're 5 minutes over. I just want to thank Dr. Jeff very, very much for all his generosity, not just during this meeting, but all the stuff that you're posting on LinkedIn about what's working, what's not working, and what you're doing to fix it is extremely interesting. I've been clicking through all the links. I hope I can encourage everyone else to do the same. Some of the papers that you've written and so on are just really, really interesting stuff. I read them every night after dinner. And so thank you, Jeff. And I just want to point out that Andre, one of the participants, put in the chat that the AIs work really fast because they're not unionized yet. And then, and then Andre also said, this guy has a good sense of humor. One of my users is so challenging that I'm certain they'll trigger the company's first AI agent resignation.
Yeah. By the
Pretty
way, I
good.
just want to say one thing. It's like this is Augusto. Like, there's a bug, so there is two Andre Carrier. So that was Augusto in my team responding, not Andre. But I find it
And
funny.
Danielle, please meet Andre, my new partner in crime in Montreal. So I'm
Very
glad.
nice. Yeah,
Just
you've
so
got
much,
This is
and you to organize this. By the way, I really love my Agile Boston community, even if I'm from Montreal. I prefer the
yes.
Bruins over the Canadian. Okay, so that's it. Thank you.
this is going to be a problem in the future because I think you're going to be surprised by the robots.
Yep.
They're not going to be R2D2. They're going to be more like Data.
Yeah.
Now you're going to
It's
have to deal with them.
crazy.
Is Data a human or not?
Yeah. And debating. They'll be debating.
He's smarter than the humans, right?
Yeah.
And he's always self introspecting about how he can become more human. He's going to want to be treated in a certain way. And that's true already. You see that already in some of the smarter AIs.
Yes.
Yeah, the agency.
Well, let me just say thank you to everyone. We're 7 minutes over. Jeff, especially, thanks for staying a little bit late. And to all of you who came, thank you for coming. And I hope you'll continue to come to our meetings each month. Keep working on AI. Keep reading what Jeff's putting out there in terms of what's working and what isn't. And thank you so much and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
everybody.
Have a good day.